Most people have no idea just how volatile the world of women's basketball has become. On one hand, there's a single figure, Caitlin Clark, who has single-handedly captured the attention of millions, dramatically lifting TV ratings and fan engagement. On the other hand, there's a league that has struggled to turn popularity into profit, prompting jealousy among certain players and igniting heated debates across social media. Just when women's basketball might finally be on the cusp of something huge, internal friction and financial uncertainty threaten to tear it apart. This is more than a story of a rising star. It's a snapshot of a league at a crossroads, grappling with fame, money, and identity. And what comes next might leave fans speechless. Caitlin Clark isn't your average basketball star. She's been dubbed the female Steph Curry for a reason. Long-range bombs, court vision, and charisma. Every game she plays becomes a headline, and the numbers prove it. Average WNBA games without her pulled in about 394,000 viewers. With her, 1.4 million. That's more than a 200% spike, and she didn't even play in the finals, yet the ratings still jumped across the board. But as her star rose, some players felt sidelined. Instead of celebrating the boost she brought to the league, they voiced frustrations. To them, the spotlight was too narrow. That tension only grew when statements from players like Angel Reese suggested that the media focus was unfairly tilted toward Clark.
Yeah, the reason why we watching women's basketball is not just because of one person, it's because of me too, and I want y'all to realize that.
Despite rising popularity, the WNBA remains financially fragile. Historically, the NBA has covered around $10 million in losses each year just to keep it afloat. But last year, the league lost 5 times that amount, $50 million. Much of the increased spending went toward improving travel conditions, especially private flights for players. Those upgrades were long overdue. Stories of full teams squeezed into commercial flights raised eyebrows, especially in contrast with the luxury of the NBA. Yet the expenses far outpaced the league's growing but still limited income. Even with new investors pouring in $75 million for a 16% stake in the league, the WNBA now owns only 42% of itself. That creates complications. When players call for a 50-50 revenue split, like their NBA counterparts receive, the math doesn't quite add up, not when more than half the league belongs to outside investors. Angel Reese made headlines by demanding recognition beyond just Caitlin Clark. She argued that multiple players were driving the league's growth, but online reactions were swift and polarized. Fans pushed back, pointing to the ratings data and suggesting that Clark was the main draw. The league is caught in the middle of a tricky dynamic. While it needs marketable stars to attract sponsors and viewers,
3, 4 seconds. Ionescu will heave and hit!
It also needs to balance recognition across a wide range of talented athletes. If players feel left behind, the result isn't just hurt feelings, it's fractured unity. The next big flashpoint? The upcoming collective bargaining agreement. Some players have already hinted they won't play unless significant changes are made, especially when it comes to pay. It's easy to understand their frustration. Rookie contracts hover around $74,000. For players living in cities like Los Angeles or New York, that salary barely scratches the surface of their expenses. Many players take second jobs overseas in leagues across Russia, Turkey, and China just to make ends meet. But threatening to strike at a time when the WNBA is finally gaining traction could backfire. Other leagues that have faced strikes, like MLB in 1994, took years to win back their fans. The WNBA can't afford that kind of fallout. A lockout now might unravel everything that Clark's arrival helped build. A few star players have landed major endorsement deals. Angel Reese has partnerships with Reebok and Beats by Dre. Caitlin Clark is already a marketing powerhouse, but most players aren't so lucky. They scrape by, hoping for a fraction of that visibility. That inequality creates resentment. Players who train just as hard feel overlooked because they don't have a viral highlight reel. For the league to thrive, it needs to find ways to showcase more than just one or two faces. Giving fans access to the personal stories of lesser-known players could be a game-changer. Caitlin Clark's rapid rise has also reopened conversations about race in professional sports. Some have questioned whether her popularity is, in part, a product of white privilege in a league predominantly built by black athletes. Clark herself has acknowledged this, expressing her respect for the players who paved the way. Still, The debate has stirred tension inside and outside the league. The WNBA has long prided itself on being a progressive, inclusive space. But when players feel like their contributions are being overshadowed, the cultural friction becomes impossible to ignore. Unity has to start from within. If the WNBA can navigate these tough conversations and turn them into moments of collaboration, it could become not just a premier sports league, but a social leader as well.
Here is Burton, and it's knocked away by McBride. Kayla McBride, the defensive play blocked by...
All of this tension isn't just impacting players and fans, it's affecting the league's future. Rising stars in college are closely watching how this plays out. They're asking themselves whether joining the WNBA will bring opportunities or headaches. Sponsors are watching too. They want to invest in a product with clear value and growth potential, not one consumed by internal friction. If the WNBA wants to keep corporate interest alive, it has to show stability and unity, on and off the court. The media spotlight is hotter than ever. Every tweet, interview, or highlight reel is instantly shared and scrutinized. That brings both risk and reward. Negative stories spread fast, but so do powerful moments of sportsmanship, teamwork, and resilience. The WNBA must decide what kind of narrative it wants to own. Is it a league of division or a league of evolution and progress? The answer will shape how the public sees women's basketball moving forward.
In it comes to Charles. Charles, one dribble, up and in!
The WNBA has momentum, but it hasn't fully capitalized yet. The league could create more nationally televised games, launch deeper storytelling content, and better connect fans to its athletes. Global expansion, cross-league events with the NBA, or even integrating with emerging sports tech platforms could all boost visibility. The talent is there. The question is whether the strategy will catch up. Other sports have faced similar turning points. Baseball recovered from strikes with epic home run races. The NBA bounced back from lockouts with dynamic player rivalries and global marketing. The WNBA can learn from this. Crisis can lead to innovation. It can also lead to collapse. The next few decisions will determine which direction the league takes. Women's basketball is at a tipping point. The talent is undeniable. The audience is growing. But unity, vision, and leadership will determine the league's future. If the WNBA can align its stars, stabilize its finances, and tell its story the right way, there's no limit to how far it can go. But it starts with turning internal tension into collective strength. The opportunity is here. The clock is ticking. The WNBA stands on the edge of something big. It has a generational talent in Caitlin Clark, a rising tide of interest, and a chance to change the landscape of women's sports. But it also faces internal conflict, financial pressure, and a looming showdown over pay and treatment. The next few years will determine whether the league rises together or fractures under pressure. One thing's clear. If players, executives, and fans can align around a shared vision, the WNBA can become not just viable, but unstoppable. The moment is now. Will they seize it?